One night the village went silent. No birds, no wind, just whispers in the dark. Then a child disappeared, and only one girl knew the truth. In the heart of Ndemu, a village hidden between ancient baobab trees, there was an unspoken rule: never speak of the unseen. The elders whispered of spirits that walked where they were not called, of voices that echoed in the wind when no one was there. No one dared to listen. But on a night darker than any before, the silence was broken. A child vanished, and deep in the shadows, something whispered a name that should not be heard. The night Akili was born, the sky wept with thunder, and the ancestral baobab split in two. The villagers whispered, fearing an omen, but Nana Seifu, the village healer, only watched in silence. "This child is neither cursed nor blessed," she murmured. "She is chosen." As Akili grew, she was different. She listened when others did not, to the wind, the trees, the spaces between words. And when she listened too closely, something or someone listened back. At 5 years old, Akili heard it for the first time. A whisper carried by the wind, soft yet unmistakable. It called her name, stretching through the rustling trees, weaving between the distant drum beats of the village. She turned, expecting to see someone. But there was only the empty night. "It's just the wind," the elders said, but Nana Seifu watched with knowing eyes. For the wind does not call names, unless something waits for an answer. As Akili grew, the whispers became clearer, closer. At first they were soft, names, echoes, forgotten words. But soon she saw figures in the mist, shadows standing where no one should be. The village children called her the ghost girl, running when she spoke of what she saw. The elders warned, "You must never answer them." But how could she not? The spirits were speaking, and in their hushed, urgent voices, one thing was clear: they needed her to listen. One evening, Nana Seifu called Akili close, her voice low, heavy with something unspoken. "You are not cursed, child," she murmured, tracing the lines of Akili's palm. "You are a keeper." She spoke of an ancient lineage, those who could hear what others ignored, what the village had chosen to forget. "But listen well," Nana warned, eyes dark with memory. "The spirits are not all kind. Some whisper to guide, others whisper to claim." One moonless night, Kato, a boy from the village, vanished without a trace. His footprints led to the old well, a place whispered to hold unseen secrets. Panic spread like wildfire. Was it a wild beast, a curse, or something worse? But Akili heard what no one else could, a faint, desperate voice from beyond the veil. "I am here, but I cannot leave." The village searched in fear, but only Akili knew the truth. Kato was not alone. Akili couldn't ignore the voice. While the village barred its doors in fear, she slipped into the night, drawn by an unseen force. The well stood before her, ancient, forgotten, breathing with silence. The air was thick, heavy, as if the darkness itself was waiting. Then, a sound, not the wind, and then, not the trees. Something deeper, a whisper rising from the depths. "You came, but will you listen?" Akili's heart pounded. Something was waiting beneath the surface, and it knew her name. As Akili peered into the dark mouth of the well, the whispers grew louder, urgent, pleading. Then a figure emerged. Not flesh, not shadow, but something in between. His silver eyes glowed like moonlight on water. His voice, neither young nor old, echoed with forgotten time. "You have come at last." Akili stepped back, but the spirit raised a hand. "The village has forgotten us, but you still hear. Will you listen or will you turn away?" The silver-eyed spirit stepped forward, his voice a low echo of something ancient. "Long ago, your people honored us. We guided them, protected them. But fear silenced our names." Akili listened as the spirit told of a betrayal buried in time, how the village had sealed away the old ways, breaking the bond between the living and the unseen. "Now the balance is broken," he whispered. And if they do not remember us, soon they will lose everything. The spirit's voice trembled like wind over dry earth. The river is fading. The crops will die. The night will stretch longer until nothing remains. Akili's breath caught. But why? His silver eyes darkened. Because the village has forgotten. The ancestors have been erased. He pointed to the moon. At its next full rise, the last thread will snap. Then the silence will take everything. The spirit's form flickered. Unless someone dares to remember. Akili ran back to the village breathless, her heart pounding with urgency. She stood before the elders, her voice shaking. The spirits have spoken. If we do not remember them, the village will suffer. The council murmured. Baba Mosi, the chief, scoffed. Spirits, foolish girl, we do not honor shadows. The villagers turned away, muttering. Fear had made them blind. But as Akili stood alone, the wind shifted, low whispers curling through the trees. The spirits had heard. By morning, the river had turned to dust. The once green fields stood barren, their stalks brittle as bone. The village goats refused to eat, their eyes dark with unease. Whispers slithered through the air, low, hollow, like a song half forgotten. Shadows stretched where none should be. The elders gathered, uneasy. A curse, they muttered. A warning, Akili corrected. But still, they did not listen. That night, the silence deepened, and something unseen began to move. That night, Ndemu held its breath. No wind, no insects, only the weight of silence pressing against the huts. Then came the footsteps, soft, deliberate, too many to count. Yet, when the villagers peered into the darkness, nothing was there. A low whisper curled through the air. Akili felt it, deep in her bones. Then, a scream. A woman stumbled from her hut, eyes wide with terror. There was someone in my room, but when I looked, there was no face. Fear spread like fire. The villagers barred their doors, but whispers slipped through the cracks. The shadows had awakened, and they would not be ignored. Desperate, Akili turned to Nana Sefu, her last hope. The old woman's face was grim. It is time you knew the truth. She led Akili beyond the village, to an ancient, unmarked grave beneath the oldest baobab tree. Here lies the last keeper, Nana Sefu whispered, the one they erased. And the spirits have not forgotten. Akili traced the forgotten grave, her pulse quickening. How do we undo this? Nana Sefu's eyes darkened. There is only one way. We must call the spirits back. The village had abandoned the ritual of remembrance, fearing its power, but now, without it, the past would consume the present. Akili had no choice. She would perform the ritual. As Akili lit the first flame, the air thickened. The past had awakened. A voice echoed. Face the truth, or be lost. 3 trials awaited her. A forgotten name, a buried betrayal, and a final sacrifice. The spirits watched, waiting. Would she prove worthy, or would history erase her too? The final trial demanded a sacrifice. Akili's chest tightened. What could she give? A whisper curled around her. Memory for memory. She gasped as warmth drained from her throat. Her voice was fading. To restore the past, she had to lose something precious. She chose to remember, but at what cost? As the final flame burned, the whispers ceased. A deep sigh echoed through the land. The ancestors had been heard. The river flowed once more, the crops stood tall, but Akili's voice was gone. The village watched in silence, realizing the truth. They had forgotten, and she had paid the price. Baba Mosi knelt before Akili, his voice unsteady. We were wrong. The elders restored the old ways, honoring the spirits once more. A new keeper was chosen each generation, ensuring the past would never be silenced again. Though Akili had lost her voice, her story would never fade. As dawn broke, a breeze whispered through the village. Nana Sefu smiled, placing a hand on Akili's shoulder. The spirits took your voice, but left you something greater. Akili closed her eyes and heard them, not with words, but with understanding. She was never alone. The ancestors would always speak.